My name is Carlin Burisenko, and you are listening to the Actively Unwoke podcast. You can access archives of the podcast over at activelyunwoke.com/podcast. And while you're there, I hope you'll consider making a financial contribution to my work over at activelyunwoke.com/support. And you can make a one-time gift. You can also make monthly contributions by joining my locals, by joining my Patreon, or by becoming a financially supporting member of my Substack, and you will get perks and benefits with all of those options because I can't do it without you. I am 100% funded by you, and so if you appreciate the work, I hope you'll consider supporting it. And speaking of my Substack, which you can access at carlyn.substack.com, I posted an article last week discussing a family in New York suing an elementary school and a fifth grade teacher for transing their kid. Now, what do I mean when I say transing their kid? Well, this teacher, again, we're talking about the fifth grade, so 10 years old. This teacher, the lawsuit alleges, was using a different gendered name and pronouns for the student than were on the student's legal record, and they did so for months without telling the parents what they were doing. And it got to the point where the child, again, 10 years old, found this so confusing that she ended up in the school psychologist's office talking about how she didn't know what her gender was and talking about committing suicide. So this isn't a trivial matter. The teacher was using language that was deliberately confusing to the child, had not discussed it with the parents at all. The parents only found out about it after the child went and talked about committing suicide with the school psychologist, and this was months after the fact. And in response to that, the parents are suing both the school district, I believe they're suing the principal or the superintendent, and they're suing the fifth grade teacher that put this all in place. Now, if you also saw in the Substack last week, and this is in a different state, this is in the state of Michigan, through their Department of Education, is actually training teachers in Michigan that they are under no legal obligation to tell parents if their kids are using different names and pronouns at school. And I have the training on video. There is no question that this is going on. This is not theoretical. This is not hearsay. You can actually watch the video over on my Substack. Again, that's Carlyn, Karlyn .substack.com. And I watched the entire presentation on my YouTube channel. I have the highlights broken down on the Substack. So why do I bring this up? This is an issue that I'm seeing show up more and more and more and more, where school districts, teachers, teacher trainers are talking about proactively hiding information from parents. And while they're hiding that information, talking to the minor children about what their gender really is, and basically telling the kids, you don't have to tell your parents. Your parents might not be safe. Do you know who you're safe with? Us, your teachers. Why are we making the assumption that teachers are safe for kids? Just as an aside, why are we making the assumption that not only are parents unsafe for children, but that teachers who only met these children within the school year, teachers are really the safe ones, where parents are absolutely not the safe ones? That's just an aside. But I've seen this happen again and again and again. And what I want to read you on the podcast today is an article that showed up in the Daily Mail just the other day. Colorado elementary school is exposed for secretly transitioning student, and damning leaked internal emails revealed administrators telling the assistant principal to lie to parents. Now, this might sound like an out of the world headline, right? Except that we've seen it. We've seen it in New York. We've seen it in Michigan. And I'm going to bet you that stuff like this is happening in schools all over the country. So if you have children that are school aged. This is something that you need to be aware of. Let's read. Leaked emails from a Colorado elementary school reveal administrators going behind a parent's back to secretly transition a student. Laurel Elementary School Assistant Principal Amanda and Purdue School District Chief Equity Officer. If you have a chief equity officer in your school district, that should be sending off alarm bells. The chief equity officer, Marlena, were caught in leaked emails discussing going behind a parent's back to instruct an elementary school student by their preferred pronouns. On March 31st, 2002, Amanda reached out to Marlena, who was only a few months into her new position, about an unidentified student who had expressed their pronouns and chosen name, but their parents directly told school staff not to call the students by those pronouns. So, what we have here is a school district that is explicitly ignoring the wishes of the parents when they've said, do not use this name, do not use these pronouns. The school district is quite literally saying, we know better than the parent. And again, we saw this in Michigan. In the Michigan webinar that we watched, there was a question from one of the teachers saying, well, what do you do about the parent teacher conferences? And the answer that they got from the trainer that was by the Department of Education in Michigan training the teachers, the answer that person gave was, you have no legal obligation to use the name of the student or the pronouns the student has on their legal record. And students have a right to privacy, and so you don't have to tell the parents. So we're seeing in some states where this is not only at the official position of the school district, but the official position of the Department of Education at the state level, which means it applies to every single school in the state. Let's keep reading. I feel very strongly about supporting the student, but have heard that we legally have to follow the parent's decision due to the age of the child, which in this case is elementary school. She wrote in an email to Marlena, that's Amanda. In the same email, she revealed she learned during ABC's training that we should follow the student, not the parents, and asked Marlena to provide a more definitive answer. So it sounds like the teachers in Colorado have gotten exactly the same training that we saw in Michigan. Exactly the same guidance. Isn't that great? We want to support the student. We also want to be legally covered, she wrote. 6 days later, Marlena responded, confirming that schools should use the student's affirming name and pronouns and use their legal name and corresponding pronouns when talking with the family unit until they are supportive of the student's new name and pronouns. This is exactly what we heard in Michigan. Marlena also referred Amanda to the district's new LGBTQIA plus coordinator, Shayna. Obviously, we're going to have to do a schools exposed investigation into this district, who also reiterated to Marlena that her and Darcy, the director of student services for the district, agreed with using the students' chosen pronouns and names while the parents were not present. Despite the consensus, Amanda seemed worried that the parents' definitive disapproval of using the chosen name and pronouns with the elementary school student might prove to be an issue due to age. And then they've got a couple of screenshots of emails here, and so I just want to read through the emails. The first email we see is from Amanda, who is the assistant principal of the elementary school with she, hers, and hers pronouns, and it's addressed to Marlena, who is our new chief equity officer. Hi, Marlena. Welcome to the district. I'm so glad we have this new leadership position and you in it. I understand we either have or will be welcoming another position, someone specific to supporting our LGBTQIA plus community, but I don't know if this has happened yet. I think this question is likely, I hope, to be addressed by them district wide, but until then, I hope it's okay I'm asking you. I'm wondering about what to do when an elementary school student has expressed their pronouns and chosen name to their parents tell the school staff not to call the student by those pronouns. I feel very strongly about supporting the student, but have heard that we legally have to follow the parent's direction due to the age of the student, which is elementary school. I have also heard that this is different in secondary schools due to legal determination ages. Then tonight, I asked about this in the ABC's training, and I was told it makes no difference if it's elementary or secondary, and that the law doesn't make a distinction, and we should follow the students, not the parents. I'd like to be able to have a more definitive answer than I experienced and want to know how to direct my teachers as well. We want to support the student. We also want to make sure we're legally covered. Thank you for any guidance on this. I appreciate it. And then we have another email here, and this is from Shayna. And Shayna, again, I think is their new LGBTQIA plus coordinator. And she says, "Hi, Marlena. Just to keep you in the loop, Darcy and I met to discuss this, and we both agree the school should use the student's affirming name and pronouns at school and use their legal name and corresponding pronouns when talking with the family until they are supportive of the student's new name and pronouns. Darcy let me know that in the past, she connected with the previous legal team on this for guidance, and they were in support of this. And I will meet with Autumn Aspen this Friday to ensure we have clear communication for folks about the topic. The resources I've looked into so far are below. She's got letters from the ACLU. She's got letters from, it looks like, the Colorado Department of Education, which is unsurprising because I've actually seen equity documentation from the Colorado Department of Education. It's not a topic I've covered yet, but I have seen it and I have the files somewhere. It is something we will review at some point. But what this is telling me is that Colorado is exactly the same as Michigan. Michigan, by the way, also received legal guidance at the state Department of Education level. And that's what they're passing to the teachers through their trainings when they're telling the teachers that you can use whatever name and pronouns you want with the students because students have privacy rights and you don't have to tell the parents. All right, our next email is from Marlena, and this is back to Amanda. And she says, "Hi, Amanda. Thank you for answering this question. Schools should use the student's affirming name and pronouns at school and use the legal name and corresponding pronouns when talking with the family until they are supportive of the student's new name and pronouns. Below is a link to our state's guidance on the issue as well. If you need more info about this conversation, please connect with the new LGBTQIA plus coordinator, Shayna." And again, they're linking to the Colorado Department of Education. Specifically, apparently, they have a document on transgender guidance, which obviously I'm going to have to read and report on my Substack because that's the world we live in today. And lastly, we have an email from Amanda to Shayna, and she says, "Yay! Welcome, Shayna. I do have one clarification about our scenario, if I may share more detail. Does this also apply to cases of using a student's chosen name when a parent has directly said not to do that? The parent's statement was in response to learning that classmates and staff had been using their chosen name. The student had asked a few of us to be present when they came out to their mom. Remember, this is an elementary school we're talking about. In that moment, mom seemed okay and asked how long this had been happening and that we were using the chosen name. Follow up communication from the parents was pretty direct that we are not to continue doing so. I'm wondering about the district do not nature of what was said, and in light of them being in elementary school, I want to make sure we're still covered if we use the student's chosen name in school, even in this case. Thank you, Shayna. I look forward to your response so I know how to direct our team. Thank you very much for joining the school district and for your support of our students." And then we have the rest of the article here. DailyMail.com reached out to the school district and Marlena for comment. When Amanda was reached for comment, she referred to the communications department. Oh, isn't that nice? Marlena joined the school district in January of 2022, and she overlooks several departments, including curriculum, instruction, and professional learning. Professional learning, this is something we've talked about in the Schools Exposed program. Professional learning means the training that teachers are getting from the school district or from the State Department of Education. And this is one of the most often overlooked things that parents don't think about when they're looking into their school district. What training are the teachers getting? Because any training the teachers are getting is going to make its way into the classroom. And so, one of the ways that you can tell what is going on in the school district is to look at the professional development that the school district or the Department of Education or really any sort of training that they're getting, because that training will then tell you what is likely to be going on in the classroom. She is a mother of two, Daniel 22 and Colin 20, and said her boys are a perfect example of finding what a child's passion is and customize the learning experience for her there. I'm not sure how that is relevant in this specific case. Amanda also won the Colorado Assistant Elementary School Principal of the Year in 2023. It is the second year that a teacher from this school district has won the award. Amanda has served as the assistant principal in the district since 2019 and has been with the district since 2013. The situation at Laurel is nothing new, as plenty of parents across the country have been fighting to control their children's pronouns in school. And then it lists a couple of other things, other cases where this is coming up. But guys, here is the lesson that I want to leave you with in this podcast. And I'll make sure this article that we've read is linked in the description of the podcast. But if you have children in school, you have got to make sure you know what their policy is on this. Call the school and ask them. It might even be in their handbook. It might be on their website. It probably is, if I'm honest about it. And these are the types of things that we look into in my Schools Exposed program. In my Schools Exposed program, which you can find at schoolsexposed.com, I will teach you how to look into publicly available information on your school district's website, how to find it, what all the language means, how to interpret it, where exactly you need to look for this information. And this is an offering that I'm building a community around to be able to bring parents together who are concerned about these issues to help them look into the school district so that you can then go to the school district from a position of strength to say, I know what you're doing. I have your documents. I have your records. I FOIA'd your information. This is unacceptable to me and it needs to stop now. When dealing with the schools, you want to make sure that you are in the power position. And the only way that you can be in the power position is to have the information. So you have to make sure you know what's going on, because we're now seeing case after case after case after case after case emerge of schools quite literally transitioning children in elementary school. And the parents only find out about it after the child is completely confused and doesn't know what's going on. So, guys, check out my Schools Exposed program at schoolsexposed.com. I want to expose as much of this as possible about what is going on in schools, and I want to do it in a way that is nuanced, that is not outrage driven, that is entirely driven based on the school's own documents, their own emails, their own videos, the guidance that they're putting out there. It is the very best way to bring along people who might not understand the full depth of what's going on, but they're really uncomfortable with a school district saying, no, parents, I'm not going to use the name that you're telling us to use for your kid. We're going to use whatever made up name the kid wants. That's not something that a lot of parents are going to get behind. And so if we can show them that it's happening, that's a way that we can wake them up. All right, guys, that's all I have for right now. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon with more Unwoke information.